he said, turning away from her. "Don't bother. I'll find him. You'd better stay here and watch for marauders." "They'll all be sleeping off their hangovers this early in the day," the constable sniffed. Martin carried on past him and headed to the tent, briefly acknowledging the various soccos who stood around, waiting for the call to start the minutiae of their investigation. As she pulled on her protective shoe covers and plastic gloves, she noticed the outline of what must be a boathouse further upriver, bunting flapping forlornly from its roof, detritus of some sort scattered in front of it over the dewy grass. Martin bent to open up the tent flap before peering inside. "D.I. Martin?" The man who spoke was crouched over the shape of a girl. He considered Martin with a frown as she edged inside stiffly where body heat fused with the dank smell of sodden ground. "When DCI Butterworth said you'd be the SIO, I assumed he meant a man. Sorry." He didn't sound sorry, Martin thought. Perhaps if she was called D.I. Flowers, she could prevent the continual assumption that she was male, although why her sex actually mattered, she wasn't entirely sure. She chose to ignore the stab of irritation this caused and turned to look at what faced her. The body stared upwards. Her head crooked to one side and her palms spread as if she was shrugging. She looked abandoned, Martin thought. The girl's mouth was twisted in condemnation, indelibly taken aback by what had happened to her. Her chin was high and her blonde hair, dirtied by the mud of the riverbank, coiled around her neck in wet strings. A tiny black leaf stuck to her cheek, a beauty spot gone wrong. "Dr. Walsh," she said to the doctor, giving a curt nod. "Has she been moved?" Walsh nodded. "Couple who found her dragged her up here. Tried to give her mouth to mouth." His eyebrows lifted at the futility. Martin breathed deliberately, steadying her instinct to move fast, the loud clock of the crime scene ticking relentlessly within her. The scent of mildew cloyed in the enclosed space, and she could feel the beginnings of a headache as the infinite possibilities crowded her brain, those possibilities more tortuous for someone like her than an empty trail. "Could be a baptism of fire for you," Walsh continued, gently moving the girl's hair to reveal dark wine-coloured bruises bisecting the line of her throat. "Might be drowning, I suppose, but these marks are nasty." Martin bent over double to ease herself further into the tent, awkwardly shuffling on her haunches up to where the body lay. She swallowed, wanting to hear her own voice, to normalise the scene. "I wish they'd make these things bigger. They know average-sized human beings will have to work in them." "Better ones in Newcastle, were there?" Walsh said without looking at her, shifting in his squat to the left to give her access to the body. She ignored him, looking intently into the girl's face. "Young?" She paused. "Suicide, do you think? He must get a few around exam time. Unlikely with those marks, I guess." The girl's eyes stared back at Martin, glazed but judging. Walsh leaned forwards and closed them. "Hard to drown yourself," he said. "Not unheard of, I suppose. As I say, we don't know yet." "Time of death?" Martin risked. Walsh narrowed his eyes. He backed out in as dignified a manner as possible, his head the last bit of him to leave the tent. "I'll be in touch when the post-mortem's done." Martin bent her head again to the body and breathed softly, the sound of it a comfort in the overly warm stillness of the tent. There was a tenderness to the girl's face, a peacefulness, now that her eyes were closed. Martin knew, though, that if the girl had been strangled, there would have been no serenity at the end. She would have battled. And she had lost. Martin's eyes travelled down the girl's body. Why was she only wearing a t-shirt at this time of night? Even though it was May, the evenings were cold, and the wind in the northeast was unkind to those not hardened to its charms. Martin studied the girl's limbs, which were already taking on a marvellous sheen.